The name Borgia has become synonymous with the darkest sins of the Renaissance. Yet the true story of their ruthless ambition is even more compelling than the scandalous legends they inspired. A glittering veneer of gold barely concealed the pervasive decay in Rome, a city where the air hung heavy with a mixture of sacred incense and moral corruption. At the epicenter of this world, within the Vatican, Rodrigo Borgia, newly christened Pope Alexander VI, viewed his territory with the sharp eyes of a predator. The papal tiara was a significant weight, yet he embraced its heft with satisfaction. His rise to the throne of St. Peter was the culmination of years spent scheming, bribing, and ruthlessly eliminating rivals. The Holy See was now his prize. The Borgias, lacking noble lineage, compensated with an innate and brutal ambition. Rodrigo's power was built upon a foundation of strategic alliances, cemented with Spanish gold and clandestine promises. Cardinals who stood against him either saw their influence mysteriously evaporate or their lives abruptly end. The papal court, once a symbol of religious devotion, had transformed into a hotbed of vice. Here, fortunes were gambled away, and power was traded for the favors of courtesans. At the heart of this gilded stage was Lucrezia, Rodrigo's daughter, a striking beauty with golden hair and fair skin. At just 16, she was a crucial pawn in her father's ambitious strategies. While her laughter resonated through the Vatican's ornate halls, it masked the cunning mind of a participant in a dangerous game she never chose. Always near was her brother Cesare, a young cardinal whose cold, wolf-like eyes betrayed ambitions that dwarfed even those of his father. The birth of a scandal. The whispers began almost immediately, spreading like a contagion through a city that feasted on scandal. The Borgias provided a steady diet of material. Rodrigo openly paraded his mistresses, and his illegitimate children were raised within the sacred walls of the Vatican. Cesare's reputation for violence grew with each foe who disappeared into the Roman night. Caught in this storm of rumor and innuendo was the young Lucrezia. The papal court was a performance, and every actor knew their part in a script written with blood. Beyond the Vatican, the city of Rome was a cauldron of resentment. The populace spoke of poison-laced wine and daggers waiting in the darkness. The Borgias' rivals, like the Della Rovere and Sforza families, circled like vultures, their published pamphlets dripping with venomous accusations. Rome was no stranger to corruption, but this brand was uniquely brazen and personal. The most insidious rumors, thin as smoke, but just as pervasive, took root in the city's taverns and antechambers. They hinted at the unspeakable, incest between the Pope and his daughter, and an unnaturally intense bond between the siblings. These accusations needed no evidence. The scandal alone was a potent weapon designed to undermine the Borgias' authority. Crude woodcut pamphlets appeared overnight, depicting grotesque, caricatured embraces between figures clearly intended to be Rodrigo, Cesare, and Lucrezia. The accompanying text twisted prayers into obscenities, mocking the Holy Father's supposed sins. Lucrezia felt the sting of these rumors daily. Her ladies-in-waiting would fall silent when she approached, their eyes averting hers. She understood the power of the whispers and knew that acknowledging them would only lend them credibility. Cesare, however, met slander with violence. He confronted a printer responsible for one of the pamphlets, and the man's body was later found in the Tiber, his tongue removed, a clear but ultimately futile message. The scandal, once released, could not be so easily contained. Rodrigo dismissed the gossip with a wave of his hand, telling Lucrezia, Let the dogs bark. They envy what they cannot have. But his nonchalance was interpreted by many as a tacit admission of guilt. The rumors gained traction, poisoning the atmosphere even at high-profile events. At a banquet, a rival's poet recited verses filled with double meanings about flowers plucked too soon, his gaze fixed on Lucrezia. Though she maintained her composure, her flushed cheeks betrayed her humiliation. Later, in her private chambers, she shattered a vase in a fit of rage. Instruments of power. For the Borgias, incest was a fabricated scandal, but their real sins were just as damning, if more conventional for the era. Rodrigo had purchased the papacy, his gold-persuading cardinals, to set aside their piety. Cesare ordered assassinations with the casual authority of one who considered himself beyond judgment. Lucrezia's marriages were strategic transactions, her life a bargaining chip in her father's political games. These were the true, if less sensational crimes the family was built upon. Lucrezia, the Golden Key. Lucrezia Borgia was never just a daughter. She was an instrument of her father's dynastic ambition. Her first marriage at 13 to Giovanni Sforza of Pesaro was a cold political calculation to secure northern alliances. When political tides turned, the marriage was annulled on the dubious grounds of Giovanni's impotence, a public humiliation he claimed was forced upon him at knife point by Cesare. Her second marriage to Alfonso of Aragon, Prince of Naples, was meant to secure the family's influence in the south. This union, marked by genuine affection, ended in bloodshed when Alfonso was brutally murdered in a Roman alley. The crime was never solved, but suspicion fell squarely on Cesare, who may have acted out of political necessity or jealous possessiveness. Through it all, Lucrezia played her part, whether as the weeping widow or the obedient daughter, her true feelings hidden behind a mask of serene composure. Cesare, the unsheathed blade. Where his father ruled with gold, Cesare Borgia ruled with steel. A cardinal who traded his robes for armor, he was the Pope's enforcer. His relationship with Lucrezia was intensely protective and possessive, fueling the darkest rumors. He hovered at her side, his presence a constant threat to her suitors and detractors. Cesare's involvement in the dissolution of Lucrezia's first marriage and the murder of her second husband cemented his ruthless reputation. After Alfonso's death, Lucrezia confronted him. "You took him from me," she accused. His cold reply laid bare the family's ethos. "I protected you." In the world of the Borgias, love was a liability, and Cesare had eliminated it. His actions provided the perfect narrative for their enemies. What kind of brother kills his sister's husband unless he desires her for himself? The end of an era. The Borgia reign was infamous for its poisoned banquets, where enemies would be invited to feast, only to fall ill and die. The family's signature poison, cantarella, was rumored to be a tasteless concoction that sealed the fates of many cardinals and nobles who stood in their way. The end for Pope Alexander VI came in the sweltering August of 1503. After dining at a cardinal's villa, he fell violently ill. While the official cause was fever, Rome was convinced it was poison. The irony was palpable. Many believed he had accidentally fallen victim to his own preferred method of assassination. His death created a power vacuum that their enemies rushed to fill. The Borgia Empire crumbled almost overnight. Cesare, stripped of his father's protection, became a fugitive. He was eventually captured and later killed in a minor skirmish in Spain in 1507, an ignominious end for the man who had once terrorized Italy. Lucrezia, however, survived. As the Duchess of Ferrara, married to Alfonso Ferdeste, she reinvented herself. She shed the infamy of her family name and became a respected and pious ruler, a patron of the arts, and a devoted mother. She outlived the rumors, burying her past so deep that she could finally define her own legacy. Though she escaped the fate of her father and brother, the shadow of their story would follow her, and history, for its part, would always prefer the monstrous myth to the complicated truth.